Hi, I'm Leslie Coughlin, social worker and prevention and outreach coordinator at YWCA Greenwich, speaking with licensed clinical social worker Robin Linder about practical parenting.
Hi, Leslie.
Robin, one of the best articles I've read recently actually recommends lowering the parenting bar when it comes to healthy meals, screen time, and even just putting our pants on right now. But we still have to keep some sense of order, right? And the problem is, I feel like our children are just dealing with so many negatives right now: no's, restrictions, cancellations, that it almost feels wrong to just pile on with criticism or even punishments. So, I really want to talk about some positive ways that we can get our kids to listen, do schoolwork, or even just stop bickering about the remote.
Me too. So let's start with something that might sound funny, but it actually works great. Tell me, what would you do if you wanted to train your puppy to sit?
Oh, well, when they do anything that looks even remotely like sit, I would say, good sit, and give them a treat or praise them enthusiastically or even both. And over time, they learn what the word sit means and that it's a really, really good thing to do.
So we can do that with our kids too. We can teach them new behaviors. Sometimes we call it catch them doing something good. And it might not seem like it, especially these days, but I promise you, your kids do plenty of positive things. We just have to notice them. So if they even help clear the table, praise them and offer a reward on the spot. Say, that's so helpful. I really appreciate it when you clear the table. Why don't you enjoy some extra TikTok time tonight?
Well, I love the idea of catching them doing something good. And besides praise, there are probably lots of ways we can reinforce positive behaviors because I know some kids love praise, but some really don't like it. Maybe we can reinforce with a hug or a high five or a privilege or a special activity they get to do.
Exactly. And the key is to notice positive behaviors in the moment, reinforce them enthusiastically, and repeat that as often as possible until it becomes a learned behavior, just like you would for a puppy. And that's positive reinforcement in a nutshell. Now, another way to change behavior for the better is called negative reinforcement.
Wait, what?
Stay with me. It's not a negative thing. It's a good way to increase the behavior you want. It's when you take away something negative once you see the behavior you want. So if your kids are yelling, you can start singing really loud, which you know they hate. And when they stop yelling, you stop singing.
Oh, so they're learning that their yelling will result in something very unpleasant, and then they'll be less likely to do it again.
Yeah. And then another really useful technique is called shaping. Sometimes the behavior we want, it's just too much of an ask right from the start. So, like if you wanted to learn to play tennis, you don't expect yourself to go out on the court and just start playing in a match. You start by learning your forehand and then backhand and then the serve. And then you can put it all together and you're playing tennis. So, it's the same with your kids' behavior.
Right, because I know for a lot of kids, if you just say something like, go clean your room, they're not even necessarily being willful when they don't cooperate. The task is just overwhelming for them. So maybe you break it down and start with something like, go put your dirty clothes in the hamper. Then praise that effort, give them a hug, give them a high five. Then next, how about you put all your clean clothes away in your drawers, etc. Repeat, and voila, the whole room is clean.
Perfect example, right? And a lot of us say, oh, that sounds like so much effort. Why can't they just do what I say? It's not that parents are wrong to feel that way. Of course, they're right. It's just ask yourself, how is it working so far? And it's probably not so great. So then it's far to ask yourself, would I rather be skillful or be right? Because being right might feel good, but it doesn't get the room clean.
And I know it's hard for parents not to just start doling out the punishments, right? So sometimes it's just the first thing that comes to our minds or out of our mouths when we're tired or we're frustrated, but it actually rarely accomplishes anything at all. And sometimes the punishment actually drives the bad behaviors that we don't want underground and makes our kids more clever about ways to break the rules. Punishment should really be saved for situations where our children are doing something that's actually dangerous and we need to make a really immediate and super impactful message.
That's right. But for the everyday offenses, consequences are the way to go. So effective consequences should be time limited, they should be clear, and they should fit the crime. So you could say, for example, because you hit your brother, you have to put his toys away all day tomorrow. It's also effective sometimes to tell them what they need to do in order to earn back a privilege. So you could take away a game or an app they really love, and they can have it back once they've changed the behavior. So, like once they start speaking nicely to their sister, they get Fortnite back. And then one other tip is to have a list of consequences already in mind in advance so that you don't end up going with those knee jerk impulsive punishments.
Right, because it's so important not to take away things that our kids actually need right now, and we really need for them to have right now to keep the peace in our houses and to get some stuff done. So if you say you'll take away screen time or their laptop, you might not be able to follow through, or you actually might be punishing yourself. One great technique I've tried is to actually get kids to say what they think their own consequence should be. It's so funny how they will often come up with something much more strict than any parent would come up with. And then you can be the good guy and say, wow, that seems harsh. How about we talk about something a little less severe?
Exactly. And then one last idea about consequences, consider allowing for natural consequences whenever possible. So if they don't get their work done on time, don't jump in to rescue them. The natural consequence of one lower grade might actually help shape their behavior in the future. I know sometimes it's harder on the parent than it is on the child, but if you hang in there, you know you're really helping them in the long run.
Right, like resisting the temptation to bring them their sneakers they forgot again on a gym day. They'll have to sit out, and maybe that might help them remember better for the next time. I've actually done programs in town in schools that have an enable table. It's called that, the enable table, for parents to drop off forgotten homework assignments, lunches, and even musical instruments.
That's incredible. And although we're mostly talking about changing behavior, let's not forget a plug for the times when conflicts can be resolved without any consequences or our involvement at all.
Right. And we can teach our kids to be assertive, to communicate, and compromise to resolve their own conflicts so everyone wins.
Right. And that success, it's so reinforcing.
And, I'm thinking that this all applies to us as well as parents. Despite the curated images of the perfect parent we're seeing right now, we know a lot of people are struggling, at least at times, to keep it all together. So let's remember to catch our own selves doing something right every day and notice the little things we're actually accomplishing.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Leslie, did you put your pants on today?
If sweatpants count, sure. Yay, me. I did it. So we'll be back again with another segment of Practical Parenting. And you can always write us at community.ed@ywcagreenwich.org. Until then, be safe, stay well, and thanks for watching.